Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Rental Makbolo, and this is Pedro and this is Kathy, my German teachers, and now I'm in Sofia, so it's really good weather and yeah. So do you want to introduce yourself? Why my German teacher is Bulgarian.
Yeah, exactly. It was nice. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you.
And yes, my name is Kathy. I am half Bulgarian, half Russian. But I lived in Germany for quite some time, for a long time, for maybe 5-6 years. Who knows so much, but for several years, and I also learned the language as a foreigner, but through some, more authentic maybe methods, and also learned the culture, and in the end I've passed several courses how to teach foreign languages, so I'm a professionally trained German language teacher, and right now I teach languages. I teach a German language as an exam preparation primarily.
It's not an advertisement.
Yeah.
We just introduced
No,
this.
exactly. That's the first thing, and also my hobby is language learning. So I've learned, I speak English, Russian, Bulgarian, German, and French.
And you are learning?
I'm learning. Oh, yeah, it's a long process, and I learn Chinese.
Interesting. So today we will talk about some language things, and it's actually free conversation. So yeah, we'll just discuss something which appears in our head, in our brain. So yeah, enjoy that. So actually, first we can talk about the process that I learned in Germany. So I think that times for me I have very specific goals because I need to pass the C1 test. So I just remember worked really hard, but on the other hand, it's also you give me a lot of interesting and efficiently method to do that. So we can talk about these things. So the first question I want to ask is, what do you think is the most obstacles or the most problems nowadays for the students they need to overcome?
So the thing is, for me and for my students, that I encounter as one of the biggest problems is actually they need results right away. For example, their language level is, for example, let's say B1, but they need to pass the test in 2 weeks. And they decide to have the class, let's say, twice or 3 times a week. And then they decide to take the B2 level, the B2 level exam in a couple of weeks, which is, I think, as one of the biggest problems. For example, with you, you decided to have the exam like in 6 months or in 4 months. So you had time to prepare yourself, and you also invested that much time into learning language, which was really, really useful for you because as a Chinese student in Germany, you need to encounter really different kind of language skills. You have to learn the intonation, the proper intonation, otherwise the examiner will not be able to understand what you're saying. So that is, especially for Asian students, it's a huge issue.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, language learning needs the patience, and language just like time. You need to invest a lot of time.
Exactly.
Not only today you learn 10 hours, tomorrow you learn 12 hours, and suddenly you got C1. It's impossible.
That's right.
And another thing is like you really need efficient method. I mean, basically on italki, why do I choose Kathy? Is like most of the teachers I met on italki is like they're a little bit traditional and they just 100% follow the textbook. But Kathy is very flexible. Basically, we just speak a lot, and he said speaking can almost use all of the words in your brain.
Yeah.
And also you need those kind of words and sentences in the daily life. So it's not only actually exam oriented, but also daily life oriented. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to say something?
Yes, exactly. Well, I would not say that my method, my type, or my way of teaching is that traditional or not traditional at all. I'd say I know of all the methods how the language is learned, but I try to teach the way I would like someone to teach me. Do you know what I mean? So every single time when I start talking to a student, for example, to one of my first classes, during one of my first classes, I usually explain them. So this is the way how I want our class to pass. I want you to speak more. I want you to use the language more, which is an extremely important skill for language learning, because you learn languages to communicate and not to just, to learn the language. It's only, it cannot be a goal. It could be only a means of achieving your goal. And in your case, it was passing an exam. Maybe staying in Germany, maybe to find new friends. It could be also, for example, when I learned French, one of my goals was to be able to watch French films and series without subtitles, which was one of my primary motivations to learn the language.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for French, maybe it's really good. I mean, without the untertitel, the subscription. How to say that?
Subtitles.
Subtitles, yes. But in German, it's a little bit awkward. It's like the subtitles. It's always different from the voice.
Yeah.
So actually, it's
not always.
Okay.
The subtitles are standardized. They're like standard language taken from the script.
Yes. Nowadays, it's much more easier because we have the AI tools. So AI tools will automatically generate this subtitles. So it can 100% matching the voice, matching the sound.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the AI tools, it's also a new topic. Actually, today we also talk about discuss these things in the park. You look so serious. You're not like that. Come on. Yeah. So nowadays we know that ChatGPT and Sora or whatever, a lot of AI tools generates. So my question is like today is a new era. So we should also use this era, especially I'm students with engineering background. So my question is like, will you recommend those AI tools for your student? I mean, for your language student, and you also learn a lot of 5, 6 different languages. So will you yourself use this kind of tools?
Okay, the question of AI is basically a pretty, difficult when it comes to language learning, because on one side you are able to practice your language. For example, what I do normally, if I don't have
It's fine. It's totally fine. No worries.
Okay, so one thing is when I, for example, have read a book and I want to discuss with somebody exactly this book or this point of book or something else, and I cannot do that because no one has read it out of my friends, maybe my family, but I still want to practice the vocabulary. So what I normally do, I'd ask ChatGPT, hey, would you like to discuss with me this book and these points of the book? Let's put it this way, everything has its strong points and weak points. For example, the strong points is that you can practice something that you cannot practice otherwise. For example, books, discussing some materials. You can ask for some specific information. For example, can you write down a CV for some specific purposes? That is something that you can use on a daily basis, and these are, for me personally, the topics that how I practice the language and how I use ChatGPT. Otherwise, the weak points for me encompass the things like the answers, for example, if I decide as a teacher to make an exercise to this text, for example, and I've practiced, or I've tried to generate some authentic exercises, multiple choice questions particularly, they are not really natural sounding to me. For example, the questions are not not to the meaning of the absatz, not to the meaning of one part of a text, but the meaning to specific word, which is really to you can feel that the question was automatically generated. And also, so the questions, multiple choice questions, or also if you want to practice vocabulary, specific vocabulary, they will not be as natural as you could have expected. That's probably the second point that does not accord with me and with my ways of teaching languages. But otherwise, if you want to practice some specific topic, for example, or some specific topic at some specific level, for example, at A1 level or B2 level, whatever, or you want to check your text. So, for example, I've done that with a couple of my B1 and B2 students. So they give me their text. So I send it to ChatGPT and ask the ChatGPT to outline the mistakes. For B1 and B2, you can still get really useful results, but they will still be not as perfect, maybe not as well, let's say not as natural as a person would have said. That's probably another weak point for me, and something that I don't agree with. So coming back to your question, if I recommend my students to use the ChatGPT, yes, I do, but for practicing language in a written form, because I strongly believe that language is a skill. It's not a knowledge kind of based formula or something like that. It's not a goal for you. Speaking language and writing language, writing a text, it's a skill that can be practiced, can be made better every single time when you practice it, and when if you don't use it on a daily basis, you will lose this skill. So for exactly these specific purposes, I do recommend using ChatGPT if you don't have friends with who to discuss.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. So for me, I want to say two interesting points. Like first is because I'm also a teacher on italki. I'm a Chinese teacher. Yes, I'm a teacher. And I just used ChatGPT to help me to preparing for my classes. The things like first things I can use, because we are teachers, we are native speakers, so we know we have a ability to distinguish which part of the ChatGPT generation is over natural or under natural, or it's okay. It's just a like normal sentence. The one things I really used ChatGPT in March is like to generate the examples, because sometimes there's words or structures, sentence structures. If I just use one sentence, I think for me it's totally easy to understand, or it's totally clear how to understand, use these words or use these structures. But for my students, they always can set up different questions. Why is that like this? Why is that like that? So to these phenomena, I think about, okay, maybe one example is not enough. So I wanted to create more examples, but maybe because sometimes I will follow one structures, one paradigm, and the sentence that I generate is a little bit similar. So I just let the ChatGPT to help me to generate 10 or 20 sentences, use these structures, or use these words. And I will also double check whether these sentences are overnatured or unnatured or is normal. And maybe select 10 or 15 from them and to show my students. And it's very, very useful when my students like read 5 or 6 or 7 sentences, and they will get the feeling. They will know how to use these structures. This is first thing. Second thing is also for me, I'm also a language learner for German and for the English. So actually, it's quite similar. The one way I use the ChatGPT is also like because also to creating more examples, because sometimes its word is just very how to say, if we thinking about one word, one English word and one Chinese word, or one English word with one German words, sometimes in my head they're like a function. So one word, one English word to match to another Chinese word.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and most of the time, they are like multi-matching, one matching multiple meanings. So it's really hard to distinguish sometimes. Maybe in this sentence, in this situation, this English word means this, but in another situation, it's totally different. But I didn't recognize these things. So it will generate the problem. So in this case, I will also use ChatGPT to help me. Okay, this words maybe it has 3 or 4 meanings. Could you help me to create like 3 or 4 examples for each meanings? And that really helps actually. Can help me to understand totally understand these words, or I can also to build a link between these different meanings, but from the one words. And another thing is like which I also have a passion to do is like I will make the columns, like the tables. It has 3 columns, so the first column is in English, second column is in German, and third one is in Chinese. So I can always compare these things, and when I see the tables, I can, let's say we can learn the language in the same time, but learn 3 different languages. So it's not that perfect, this model, but for me it's like useful because I always can link one meanings or one definitions, but using 3 languages. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think this?
Well, when it comes to especially using the language of ChatGPT in order to create more examples, I don't do that, and I'll tell you why. Because especially for this function, I use Google search. I'll explain how I do that. For example, if I want to show the person what the word of, I don't know, this is not my cup of tea means. And I don't really understand how I use this structure, this idiom in the daily speech. So what I normally do, I start with a picture. I start with Google picture search. And if a picture can explain the meaning, that's all right. If the pictures do not match specifically the meaning of a sentence, I just don't send any pictures to the student, but instead I search for news. And news is exactly the best point for B1 and B2 and C1 students. Why is that? Because the students who already understand some language, and you can find some specific exams that are connected to some news that are modern, that are maybe they have read this news in their own language, maybe even in German, maybe in English, but they know the context. And out of the context, it is easier for them to understand the meaning. These are the 2 ways that I use. If that doesn't help, I just create some sentences on my own, or maybe some sentences that are taken from some forums on Google search engine or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, but I don't specifically use ChatGPT exactly because they are not always natural, and I don't want to spend that much time in discussing, oh, that's not natural, it's a little bit too overrated, a little bit too boring, no one would say that. I would just skip this part overall. And the second question, what was it? I'm sorry, I forgot. What was the second
question?
No, you said something about, what was it? I don't remember. What was it? To generate, and something else you said also.
You mean the tables?
The tables, yes. I don't do that as well, and I don't recommend also all of my students normally to create any cards or creating any lists of words. Why is that? Because of my background as a language translator, I know that you cannot always translate the meaning of one sentence with the same number of words in a different language. For example, I was a translator for English, German, and Russian language, and vice versa. And I must say that Russian language needs more words to explain some specific idea, some specific heuristic or some specific idea than, for example, German. And the difference is that vast, that big, that, for example, for 1 page of German text, you will need sometimes 2 pages of Russian text, and let's say one and a half of English text in order to translate this.
In Chinese.
maybe, yes. But can you see the difference? It means that I have used less words and more meaning. So kind of the bear of one specific word in German language is more vast than the one in Russian language.
Exactly.
But when we talk about, for example, translation of texts that are written texts, for example, some books, some novellas, some stories, whatever. Here is exactly the point when Russian language is more precise than any other languages. Maybe English as well. English is also pretty precise because of the vast number of dialects. But Russian and English are more precise compared to German, just in my opinion.
Yeah. So I just want to add several points. The first one, I really agree with you, like the image method. So I also think about these things like when we have one language ability. For example, I can speak Chinese. So when I learn the apple or Apfel in English, Apfel in Deutsch, auf Deutsch. So normally the method will be, so the apple is Apfel in Deutsch, is 苹果 in Chinese. But I think the function in our head, in our brain. But I think the perfect way is like the apple. Whether you see apple or 苹果 or Apfel, it should be this real apple in your brain. You imagine these things, and this real apple in the central node, and the other different languages like sub node from these things. So that's the perfect situation. But normally it's not like this. It's like, okay, I know this apple, and when I see the apple, I will first switch to apple to 苹果, and then from 苹果to this real apple. So it's like long distance to the things, and I think it's not a good way. And that's why I said your method is totally good. So we just use the method to explain these things, what that means. Do not use your mother tongue or language you already mastered to remember this word. But a lot of students, they use this way.
Yes, but it is pretty useful. This is called the grammar translation method. And this method is one of the oldest methods of learning a foreign language. Well, it is supposed to be the oldest one. We don't know, but yeah, in the books it is written that it's the oldest method. And the idea of this method is actually pretty basic. You have a text in German, and you must translate it in Chinese, for example, if you learn Chinese. And the more you translate, the better you get. Yet, the words that you translate do not stick in your head. And the drawback of this method is exactly that you cannot express yourself on a native speaker level. So you will have to think in your native language first, formulate the phrase, and then your computer will translate it into some language that you are learning in your goal language, which is not really the best idea of learning the language, I believe so. But if you want to work as a translator or as the oral translator to like some places, like UN, for example, it would be probably the best way how to translate, how to use the language.
Yeah. And the second method you mentioned is like you will send some Nachrichten, news, or some newspapers to your students. I think that's a good way, and also the way that you recommend to me that time. Because I think the news and newspaper, they really use standard language.
Yeah.
And normally they will also have audios, so you can listen audios and read the text. So it's like pretty good. And another thing I want to say is like the news is very close to the current situations, current societies.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I learned German is okay, but English when I was in schools, that times we used the textbooks very old, so some stories we couldn't even understand what does mean. I mean, it's because it's too old. The context, the situations, the story itself is just very easy to imagine. So the news is it's really good, I think, especially if you live in that country, you go countries and you just read the fresh news and not only learn language but also know the situations around you. So that's pretty good. And another thing I want to say is also about the AI tools. Is for me, it's like language learning, or generally speaking, not only language learning but also if men want to learn every skills, the feedback plays a very, very important roles. Feedback means like I do some things, for example, learning the Chinese calligraphy, or learning swimming, or dancing, or Chinese kung fu, or language as well, or programming. If you are at the very beginning stage, you do some things, you really need some guys to tell you, okay, maybe this part is not correct. You need to do a little bit like this way. So I mean, the feedback is totally important. So that time I really booked a lot of course with you, especially focusing on the speaking. Yeah. So that's why I always got the the highest scores in my language exam. But for the I mean, writing and speaking is always highest. But speaking, listening and reading is because I was lazy. I didn't read a lot. I read a lot, but not that lot. So. But I mean, for Chinese, but I'm an outlier for the Chinese student. A lot of Chinese students, they are pretty strong in the listening and reading. Normally for the IELTS or TOEFL or test DAF, they always like highest, like 90% of the 100% scores. But for me, it's vice versa. I always got like 95% of the speaking and writing, but for the listening and reading, it's always like 60%. It's really, I really struggled about this two part.
Especially listening.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think listening is just like mono directions.
Yes, but no, not really.
Yeah, okay. I mean, when of course speaking, we also use listening, but sometimes you really don't need to 100% understand your counterpart. You just scratch some keywords and you will know, and you can also express by yourself. But if you only do a pure listening task, there are always some details about listening content, but sometimes I just cannot scratch those. I just cannot focus on these details one by one. So back to our topics, like feedback. Feedback is very very important. So but actually, if you want to find a tutor, I mean, good quality tutor like you, it's very expensive actually.
It is.
Right? I spend a lot of money on the language private tutor because that is COVID time. I do not, that's ridiculous. In Germany that time in Munich, there were no online course, almost no, because that time Germany is a very conservative and
It is, yeah.
and very traditional country. So
Yeah.
all of them are presence offline class, and they just said, okay, we can return back your money, but we don't have the online course. But for me, I don't need money. Why I need money? I want to learn. I want to keep learning German. So I just switched to the italki platform, and I mean, but actually, it's a good coincidence because during that part I recognize the feedback is really very important in the big class. For example, one German teacher and 15 students. Actually, I do not have enough time with my teacher. He or she do not have the enough time or energy to one by one pick out my errors or tell me how to fix that. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
I just feel like, okay, I go to the language school for 4 hours and write an articles and give to him or her, and he will say, okay, this one is wrong, this one is wrong, and he didn't tell me how to fix what is the right way, what is the most of the time he or she even didn't understand what I want to express. So in this case, how could he know what is right form, right?
Yeah.
But in the online course, it's totally different because when I write and I will send my teacher, I will send you sometimes firstly, maybe one day before our language class, and you will correct them. And then in the during our course, maybe you will tell me what you think, and you ask me, okay, this sentence, what do you want to express? And then I will tell you what I want to express. Okay, you say, so in this case, maybe you should just give up this sentence. There's totally another structures to express your meaning. It's not like these structures. So this is good point. It's very, very good point. Sometimes you just need maybe, let's say if we should use 20 or 30 structures in the exam, it's actually like if one online course, one private course can figure out 5. So it's like six times a private course can fix this 30 structure. And that's it. It's very efficient.
Yes, private courses have their, of course, strong points and drawbacks. And for me personally, I would prefer having private classes with B1, B2, maybe C1 students, and that's what I try to refocus on now.
Why not A1?
Well, because exactly for A1 and A2 level, you don't really need this private feedback that much, because you can have this feedback which is overall. And definitely the private course is generally more expensive. Maybe if you, for example, you can find also cheap teachers on italki or on other platforms for 10 euro, 20 euros or something. But the question is how much knowledge and how much bug fixes will they give you?
Teaching skills.
Yes, maybe. And how many maybe years of teaching skills and explaining the same thing over and over again will they give you on a long run? On a long run. But when it comes to, for example, for listening, as I told you, even back then for Telk C1, I told you what you have to do. You have to, for Telk C1, you have to be very clear which word has been said, and you have to understand it with different dialects, with different accents. And what I told you, you just have to work with an audio and with the text itself, and stop after each sentence. When you practice that over and over again, you will train your hearing muscles, and you will be able to explain, to understand what people are saying, and even learn new words. So listening is really, of course, it's also a receptive skills, yet you can still work on listening, having some additional exercises that I've explained and outlined. And Of course, unfortunately, ChatGPT will not give you this opportunity yet. There is one more really great resource, Youglish, it's called. And it gives you, for example, if you want to learn how to pronounce this specific word or this specific phrase, you type in the word or type in the phrase, and afterwards it will give you several examples from YouTube of people pronouncing this phrase with different dialects. That is something that I really love to do, but it also has some drawbacks. The language there is normally a little bit more advanced, so if you have A1 level, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to learn this, to use the Youglish website. But and I have, coming back to your question of differences between private teachers, even private teachers online, which is a little bit of different thing.
Quite a lot different.
Yeah. Private teachers online and group classes. I have a student, just, you know, we started with in February, maybe in January. I don't remember when exactly. She was a kind of a middle-aged woman from Ukraine. She was a Flüchtling. She fled to Germany, and the problem she asked me to fix was the following. She said, "I've completed." So in Germany, if you come to Germany for the first time, you are able to apply for A1, A2, and B1 course for free. Did you know that? It calls Einwanderungskurse.
Not free for me, at least.
No, Einwanderungskurse, exactly for this category of people who moved to another country and maybe started working. So they can do that for free. 4 hours a day, every single day, 5 days a week, which is 20 hours. 20 hours a week. And she completed A1 level, A2 level, B1 level. One level was 100 classes. So 100, 100, 100. I don't know, maybe within 4 months she was ready. But her speaking skills, she could not speak any German at all. And she said, I just speak in Russian, and she explained all the problems to me in Russian because she could not say any single word. And she said, I passed the B1 test, which is I really don't imagine how could that happen? How can you, the person who cannot say a word in German, a single sentence in German, could pass the B1 test? That's impossible. It's just impossible. But okay, so she passed some B1 test, which was not an international test, like not TELC, but she could not say a word in German. And so what we started with her with A1 text, with A1 listening, with A1 pictures, like really easy, mundane topics. And I asked her to discuss, to explain me these pictures. And that's how we build up. So I've learned the things that she liked. She really loved her daughter, and she really loved cooking. And back in her country, in her homeland, she was a hairdresser. So we had a class on recipes. I taught her some recipe phrases, but it was fun because she could recognize the recipe from Germany, and in the Ukraine they cook the same thing, almost the same thing, so she enjoyed it. But she used the language. Another thing is that she enjoyed, we discussed, hey, let's watch a video on hairdressing, and even though the video was pretty difficult, she could handle it because she had a lot of fun. And in the end, so we started in January maybe, and we finished our class in the beginning of April, and she took 2 classes a week. And in the end, she was really happy because she could express herself, maybe not on B1 level, I would say A2 level maximum, A2 in between somewhere, A2.1. But she said, okay, so right now I applied for two courses. One course is this Einbürgerungskurs B1, B2, which is free. And the second one is in Tangram or some kind of private language school. And she said, this course is the best. My daughter said it's the best course. But I'm still thankful to you that I have started to speak.
Yeah.
And of course, if she wanted to stay in Germany, and she wanted to stay in Germany, she had to learn not only grammar, not only the way the rules are written in German, but learn to speak.
Exactly. And yeah, Kathy mentioned a very important point. It's like motivation.
Yeah.
So motivation is really, really important. That's also a drawback in the class group course, because they are also like, think about it, 15. That's in German, 15 people's one class. In China, maybe, I don't know, 30?
Really?
Yeah, 30.
But in Einwanderungskurs, in this course, A1, B1, they also have around the 25, 30
Okay.
students.
Yeah, I mean, but in China, 30 is a small group of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, in Peking there are some very because German is not that popular, but English is very popular. So in Peking, I've attended English TOEFL course. It's like 400 students.
What?
400 students. That's the normal course in China. Yeah. Okay. Let's back to our topic. It's like, because in the group course, think about it, 30 or 15 students, they use the same textbook, but the 15 classmates, maybe they come from totally different land. They have totally different hobbies, and hobbies and different interests. So it's quite hard, and everyone used very, let's say neutral textbook, and like some text without emotions. I don't like this way. Just like I attend German course, a test German course, and it's that time the topic is about doctors, about Hausarzt. And what I expect is you can tell me how to go to the Hausarzt. For example, you can how to use the booking system, or if you go to the house asked, you go to private doctors, which kind of things you need to prepare, and which sentence you can use to communicate with your doctors and to describe your symptoms. But they just taught us the different terminology of the different doctors. I don't say it's not useful, but normally in one period we just go to one doctor's. So I can just search for that word, and the most important is how to describe the symptom. But they didn't teach us this, so I mean, it's not that efficient, and also not my interest. This is like, if I need to use that, and I will search, or maybe 1 day before or 1 week before, I will find a private teachers, or I use Google to search for myself and learn those things. But in randomly, you just teach me these things, especially for the young people like me, 20-something years old. I'm so healthy. Although I remember these words, this terminology today, or this week, or this half year, and maybe 5 years later, I really need this kind of terminology. I need to to research or to refresh these things again. So that's meaningless. That's why I find you, and also today's morning we also talk about, and I also make the exercise with another. Or book the course with another teachers who come from the Switzerland, but he's teachers who is in the sinology faculty, so it's about China, so he can speak a lot of China. So each time of the class, the content is I design the content. I mean, I design content like I say, okay, today I want to discuss with you the Qing dynasties. The Han dynasties, about one specific period history of China, or one specific, for example, the economic situations, or some political situations, or blah blah blah, and we in German. And sometimes it's very, I mean, it will contain some terminologies, and I can either he can explain to me in German or in Chinese. So that's perfect. So that time is very very perfect. I just master a lot of let's say C3 level German words. But I mean, they are not daily life words. I won't use them in daily life, but I just have strong interest in that. So I learn very fast, and I can read those high levels articles, or I even write some articles in German to introduce some Chinese cultures. So that's pretty interesting to me. So I think it's similar to other students. So as you said, the your Ukrainian students, we should touch his interesting point and design the specific materials, prepare some specific materials. It's not like design the course totally from the teaching side. It's mostly similar to co-design the course.
Yes.
So that's very, very efficient for me.
Yeah, I think so.
And if you have this power at the very beginning, initial power, and after that you can, although I didn't learn with you, although now I didn't learn with, keep learning with this German teacher, I still to reading a lot of articles about China in German or in English, and that's really helps me a lot.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah, coming back to ChatGPT, that's exactly some point that is not personal. It is not really personal. Yet.
No, I have different idea, but yeah.
Really?
You go first.
What do you want to say?
ChatGPT?
Yes.
No, you can say your opinion firstly, and I will.
Okay, so that's exactly what I find not useful. In ChatGPT is exactly that. It's not personal, but and it doesn't give you this motivation because when you talk to a person who understands you and you talk to him in a different language, you discuss some things that are interesting to you, and this person is interested in them as well. That's something that maybe motivates the students. And that's why I do not recommend, I do not recommend private classes for A1, maybe A2 students, because it doesn't really make sense. You cannot learn a lot of personal details when you struggle with saying, I go to school, or I learn a language. But for test preparation for B1, B2 level, almost every class could be tailored to your needs, tailored to your private expectations, private interests. If you let the teacher do so, for example, if you don't, stick to one book, because some students really love sticking to one book, to one thing, and do not like, for example, learning something additional in between. For example, I have one student who told me, we had a very honest conversation with him. He's been learning German for 2 years, but he's like around 50, in his 50s. And he's a really good student, very hardworking. We had one class a week with him, which is, you could expect that he's not very, he's a great student, but the pace with which he was learning is not that fast. Because of, first of all, the age, the number of times per week that we had with him, and we kind of have finished A1 level within 2 years, more or less. Yes, exactly. And now he struggles. He said, I really like the way you teach, but I'm not motivated enough to learn the language.
Maybe he just enjoyed the learning process, not the master, the consequence. He not pursue the consequence. He just enjoyed the
learning. Maybe, yes, but I think the thing that he wanted to say is that whenever I want to learn a topic, I want us to have several classes on this topic.
Exactly.
For example, we've learned some specific grammar structure. And he said, hey, I want to have more 2-3 classes on this specific structure. My point was, okay, we can do that, yet the problem is that we will finish A2 in another 2 years, maybe 3 years, because you have to invest your own time into learning and into practicing as well. And so we continue learning the language, but not really I mean, at a very, very, very slow speed.
I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Towards to the AI ChatGPT things, you didn't recommend the ChatGPT to your students, right? You said.
I do.
Oh, you
But
do?
For some, like, if you want to discuss some specific
Okay,
thing.
I see. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So first, I need to admit that currently the ChatGPT is not that intelligent. But another thing is also I recognize is like maybe because ChatGPT also needs some right prompt. So because I'm an engineering student, so I learned the principle behind the ChatGPT. I know how to give some prompt and will make the ChatGPT looks smarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but normally maybe students just use ChatGPT in very direct way. So sometimes the feedback looks very stupid.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I will make this videos later. So looking forward about how to use ChatGPT rightly and correctly. Yeah, and especially for language learning.
Yeah.
And actually, why I think ChatGPT is good is like also relate to the feedback topic, because if I want to find a teacher, although I'm rich, I were rich. For example, if I'm a billionaire or millionaire, I have a lot of money, but it's still very hard to find teachers, for example, currently, immediately. It's hard, right? I still need to check the calendars, or maybe Kathy, not today, not tomorrow, maybe 2 days later or 1 week later, right? But ChatGPT is 24 hours, 7 days,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And but the first one is these things. Although I have a lot of money, is still not. If I just want to, because I'm a worried person, I just, if I met a problem, I just want to fix this. Currently, I really want to, because tomorrow maybe I will forget it.
Okay.
And second one is ChatGPT. There are some functions like you can. Normally, I don't set up the questions directly. I will set the background. For example, in which situations I met, I will describe the situations, and I will also introduce my situations. For example, I'm a Chinese, my mother tongue is Chinese, I study in Munich, and I'm an engineering student. So this is background to ChatGPT, and then I will say, okay, what's my questions related to the language, and he will give better things. What I want to express here is like, I want to create this atmosphere or context for the ChatGPT to understand this situation better, and then the answer will be closer to good quality, tailor-made tutors, private tutors.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
If generally asking questions, ChatGPT normally is like mathematical models. So if you generally asking question, he will just like average his data, maybe from 8 billion peoples on the earth, right? He will give you a very average answers. But if you introduce yourself, introduce the background, introduce the context, he will give a little bit more process. Not always, but will be better, something like that. So, I mean, in this case, if we can use the GPT or other tools correctly, I think it's also, I won't say it's as good as the good quality private tutor, but close, maybe 60%, 70%, something like that, especially in worried, urgent situations. Yes, so that's also the key point. And another point I want to say is like about your student, like 2 years to achieve the A1.
Yeah.
I experienced a similar situation in picking not 3 years, but like 6 months for A1 to achieve. Because that time I worked and spontaneously, and it was a weekend class. I just spent 4 hours each Saturday in a good institute in Peking. And my feeling is like when I watch back to that experience, my experience like I just forward 3 steps and backwards 2 steps, because I didn't use that. I need to stop 6 days and another new course. I just review them. Although I review them each day 30 minutes, I still feel 3 steps forward, 2 steps backwards. So in the end, it's like only 1 step further. So that's, I mean, I don't say this speed is slow. I just think it's this feeling is really, really bad. You already have 3 steps forward, but because of the memory, the principle of the human memory things,
Yeah.
you will forget a lot of this very quickly. So I definitely support the intensive course. That's why I booked 4 hours a day that time.
I think so too. I told exactly this student that he should learn the language more intensively, and in this case he will have the results and he will be more motivated. But he said, hey, I work 5 days a week and I want to have rest, I want to enjoy my life. Well, if you don't use the language, boom, that's the result. I cannot, I am a teacher, I can give you, but whether you take it or not, it's your decision. I believe so.
Exactly.
And even the teacher who will take, I don't know, 100 euro per hour will not be able to teach you a language within 3 sessions. You will still need, even maybe he will be the best teacher of all the best teachers, he will not be able to teach you the language within 2 classes or 5 classes or 10 classes. It's not enough because in order to learn something, the process of teaching and the process of learning are 2 different processes. And in order to learn something, you need to kind of invest your time and be in the context for some time. And only when you're in the context of this language, in the context of this situation, you will be able to learn the words. For example, my child, my baby, who is 1.5 years old, he learns languages also only within a context. So he looks at a ball, I tell him, ball. That's how we learn. And when I say the same thing over and over again, after 50 times, he will say b. Maybe he will say ba. Now, right now, he can say ba. So ball, it's like our goal to say, but he still cannot say l yet. So yeah, he says ba. He says ba.
It's with accent. Mark's accent.
Which is really funny, yeah. But exactly, only within a context is our brain is able to understand certain things.
Exactly.
Wait a second.
Okay.
Oh.
Strong wind today in Sofia's. Welcome to Sofia's.
Okay.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
I sure. It's a lot. That's
I know it.
yeah, kind of does.
Okay. Another thing, I actually wanted to discuss with you another thing.
I do not want to discuss it. Okay, keep going.
So we've talked to you about good teachers. All right, that's right. We've talked to you about language learning, GPT, ChatGPT. But for Chinese, for example, the process is way more different.
Yes, exactly.
Because for me, as a Western person, learning characters is one of the and learning to read characters is one of the biggest challenges. Maybe even not the grammar, even not the pronunciation is different as well. So the tones, 4 tones, 5 tones in some other languages. But exactly learning the character and learning the words that have different pronunciation system is more challenging than, for example, learning if I decide to learn Spanish or Swedish or even, no idea, even some other European languages. How do you, you still have big classes, how you still manage to, to learn the characters?
Yeah, that's quite easy actually. And have you watched my previous videos on my YouTube channel about
Characters?
Yes. No. So actually, yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe not.
Okay, yeah, probably not, because I mentioned a little bit, but not systematically. I have already prepared the series of this course about characters. I will record them one by one in the future, maybe in this year, probably in this year. So back to your questions. First, is like how to learn the characters, right? So actually, I don't know whether you're clear with the role of the characters in this language. It's more or less like the words.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and you said it's totally different because words normally, whatever is Bulgarian or Russian or German or English, they are like Latin alphabet or how do you say Cyrillic alphabet. But Chinese is totally different. It's like pictographic. So the very, very interesting and very easy way to explain or help the student and to understand these characters is tell the story behind the characters.
Yeah, probably.
I explained one thing to my students is, you know, how do we call things or stuffs? Dinge of Chinese in Chinese. We call it 东西. 东西 is quite weird. It's quite strange, quite weird because 东西means 东 means east, 西 means west. But when they put them together, it means thing. And my student just cannot understand it. They said when I read this 东西, because normal traditional, I mean very old modish traditional textbook, they just say 东西 means things. They don't explain. I don't know whether they do not have patience to explain or they didn't know. Sorry, I should show respect to those teachers maybe. And because I love Chinese history, so I just reading one papers about Tang Dynasty histories. That times there are two markets actually in that capital city is Chang'an. And there are two markets. One is market in the west, one is market in the east. And because the palace is in the east, so normally the east markets, they sell the luxurious things, like pearl or the wings, rings, something golden things, something like that, and from the Central Asia. And the west market is very normal for normal people, like food, rice, blah, blah, blah. So normally when some people want to buy some things, normal people, he will say, okay, I want to go to the west market to buy some things for today, but because maybe next month is my cousin's daughter's birthday, so I also want to buy some ring or something in east. So time after time, they will think, oh, go to west to buy something, go to east buy something, west, east, and they will put them together. What do you buy? I buy west and east. So this is put them together, and the things.
They're curious.
And after I explain these things to my students, and they will got the stories, and they will never forget the meaning of the dongs, and they will know, okay, dongs means things, and they will always very clearly understand and stick to their memory. So not only dongs, because dongs is a very good examples and also very typically in Chinese histories, but not every word, but because I know Chinese system is like pictographic system, so I found, because there are some dictionaries, traditional oldmost dictionaries, I found these things in the dictionaries. Each character, almost each characters had these stories. So I will make very short videos one by one in the future to explain to those characters.
All the characters? 2,000
not all. Yeah, this
5,
is not. This is another. This is another things. I mean, I will explain these things because it's very good supporting materials for the Westerners or even for the Chinese peoples, because most of them, they do not know the stories. They just use them frequently and they will know. But if they will know the stories, it will be better to understand these things and will have a new perspective to observe these things. It's quite interesting for them. Maybe they will thought those kind of videos like interesting anecdotes, but for Westerners it will be very good supporting materials to learn and remember these things. And second is answer to questions like exactly, actually there's the most frequently questions I was asked in German is like how many characters in Chinese. I didn't know. I mean I didn't know that time, because too many times I was asked and I searched for that. It's like over 10,000 or 100,000, I don't know. A lot of gazillions of that. And but actually, I also read a paper about Chinese, the modern Chinese citizen, the average numbers, average amount of numbers. How many Chinese characters do they know? It's like the whole life. Well, they averagely encounter like 8,000 or 9,000, and daily life frequently used is only 3,000. So I will maybe make like 1,000 or 1,500, and that's totally enough. I mean, if you can know this kind of this 1,500, or because this 3,000 is not about characters, it's about words, but words is come from these characters.
Yeah.
But these 3,000 words, maybe they will share, I don't know, maybe share 5 characters. These 5 characters will use the one again and again to build different words. So I think 1,500 words is characters is totally enough for the daily life.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the. Don't worry about the numbers of the characters, and also don't worry about how to remember them because it's pictographic. So you can, because there are like different versions. Because nowadays version is simplified, modern version of these characters. We can always switch back to the oldest version. At the very beginning, it's just like a painting.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to the, for example, the sun, to the rabbit, to some of the animals. So you can, when you see the characters, you will know what it's meaning. So that's quite interesting, and you can see the how does it Chinese, and you will know, okay, that's it, and you will remember that. So yeah, that's not difficult. It's quite easy and interesting. Yeah. Okay. Anything else about Chinese learning? And maybe I have a question. So why do you want to learn Chinese? Why do you want your baby to learn Chinese? And yeah, that's why I took some Chinese books to baby. Maybe he cannot understand in this stage, but in the future probably.
Well, the reason behind learning Chinese, first of all, I do believe that Chinese economics is pretty strong now. Maybe one of the strongest economics in the world. That's the first thing. The second thing is every single thing that I buy, something is written in Chinese.
Yes, exactly.
And we discussed that with my husband. Okay, for Jinjun, when you're Pedro, if you're somewhere in another country, for example, if I am in another country, nothing reminds me of my country except for maybe some pictures with my family. But for Jinjun, for Pedro, when he is in another country, every single thing reminds him of his country because even the camera equipment of my husband is made in China.
Really, Nikon?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're made in China, so we've just checked. So made in China, single thing is made in China. Maybe some details are made in China. This all the things are made in China.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely. I believe that maybe in the future Chinese language will be more and more important because of the first of all because the serious advancement of Chinese economy, and maybe because of the spread of Chinese economy and Chinese things all over the world. But in Bulgaria, for example, and maybe in Germany as well, right? You don't have that many people who speak Chinese fluently, and maybe that's exactly the thing why I would love my child to learn Chinese, because first of all he will be able to speak to Chinese and maybe have business. Yes, have business with them. Maybe he decides to move to China and he will be very popular guy probably in China.
Definitely.
Very white faced, you know, red hair, very, very different. That's the first thing. And the second thing is China is the only country that existed continuously within 5,000 years.
Yeah, that's it. That's the key point.
That's the second thing. There must be something.
Okay, now we're back. So just because the problem is back, we talk too much.
So that my question was exactly if it will be possible to kind of analyze the code of the language and why exactly China and Chinese culture has been developing within like 500 years, and all other cultures that
500 years?
5,000. Sorry, 5,000. Yeah, it's the time when I say the same thing. So 5,000 years. Yeah, 5,000 years, and I believe that our cultural code is maybe inscripted in the language. So
Exactly.
probably it could be a good point to start.
Yes. So language is like password to the
Yeah.
culture. So exactly as you said, like the spirit which transpassed from through the 5,000 years and the culture. So it's really interesting. So actually, I also will make some history, Chinese history in my YouTube channel. So Kathy also today recommended that to me, and I need to do that. But also, I mean, as Kathy said, only listen to my stories or from my perspective to listen to Chinese stories not. It's only a tiny part of it. So you'd better to go to China, to visit China, and to learn some a little bit. And it depends on interest. If you have great passion, you can learn a lot. If you think it's not that necessary or it's too difficult, you can just learn a little bit. So yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah, so that's cool. I really, if you son needs any help, I can just help you some.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So do you want to say anything else?
No, it was nice talking to you, having that long conversation, long chat with you and with all of
With
you.
two batteries.
I hope you enjoyed it a lot.
I really enjoy it. I'm really happy to have you here.
Yes, me too. And I hope to see you sometime back in Sofia.
Yeah, so also thank you guys. So if you like this videos, please subscribe to my channel and click the like button, and we'll see the next episode. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.